Welcome to the kitchen. I know that a lot of times folks are worried about, well, eating well, but eating for less expense than maybe you're used to spending. And steak might have been one of those things you've cut out of your diet or your budget. And there's no reason to do that because depending on the cut of steak, you can do something really delicious for the right price. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of underutilized cuts of steak. For example, skirt steak or flank steak. Now, skirt and flank both come from the cow in the section between the ribs and the hips. The difference being that the flank steak is what you commonly see in the markets as London broil, and the skirt steak is from the diaphragm. It's actually the muscle that helps the lungs move so that the animal can breathe. Now the thing is, they're both very tough cuts. The rule of thumb is anything on the animal that's been used a lot. So what you want to do with these types of cuts, they're usually less expensive, they're very tasty, but they're usually very tough. So to tenderize them, the best thing to do is to marinate them and cook them in a certain fashion. So for example, our skirt steak today, I went to Reliable Brothers Steaks.com. You can check out some of the products they have there, just amazing. And I found a Kobe beef, which is a certain type of beef, and it's been considered among the best. And I used a skirt steak because I can either grill it, pan fry it, or I can braise it, which would be, say, to roll it up, stuff it, and just put it in some liquid, low temp for a long time. So today I thought we'd grill our Kobe skirt steak from Reliable Brothers Steaks, and it's really awesome. Now here's the thing. I just mentioned a few seconds ago that the best way to do this after you figure out how to cook it is to marinate it, and that's true. So for a marinade, what I have right here is I've got some water, some soy sauce, a little bit of red wine, some sesame oil, balsamic vinegar, and again, the red wine and the vinegar, the acids there is what's going to break this down and make it a really great, flavorful marinade, but also break down the protein, the acid that's in this marinade. Then we also have a little bit of brown sugar, some garlic, some red chili pepper flakes, and I also added just a little bit of ginger. Now you can use pickled ginger or fresh ginger, but I think that that's what's going to make this really great, flavorful, tasty. Now this is going to go right on top. You can put this in a plastic bag if you want, but the whole idea is we're going to use some of this, probably about 2/3 of this, to marinate our skirt steak, and then the difference is going to be used for the finish. We don't want to use the same marinade that's had raw meat in it on the finished sauce. So we're going to keep about 1/3 of this on the side. As you can see, it's a very long, thin piece. Now there's a lot of marbling in this. That's where all the flavor comes from. But there's also some excess fat and a little bit of like a silver skin, this membrane. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a long, thin knife, paring knife in this case, and all we want to do is take off some of the excess fat. As you can see here, see what the marbling is? See how beautiful this is? It's a really nice cut. And that's where all the flavor comes from. So we're going to take out a little of that silver skin, a little bit of this extra fat, and we're all done. You can cut this into strips if you want. You've seen it before in fajitas. That's the meat, the beef that's used in fajitas because, again, inexpensive cut, a lot of flavor. You can also leave the whole thing just this size if you want. We can grill the whole thing, but I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm going to put it in the marinade. Now, for the marinade, all we did was you can put this, again, 30 minutes or overnight. Of course, the longer the better. We're going to take 2/3 of that marinade. We can put it right in a plastic bag, or I have a Tupperware here. We're going to put it right in. And all we're going to do is just shake it up with a little bit of the sauce, and I add a little bit more of fresh shallots and fresh onions. Now you don't have to. I didn't add them to the sauce. I'm putting them right into the marinade itself. Let some of that flavor permeate the steak, permeate the sauce itself. Let that marinade go. So here's some that I have that we did overnight in the fridge. And all we need to do now is, this is really beautiful. It's actually great aroma. You can smell this. Really, just the flavors in there. The ginger smells great, the onion, the garlic. All we need to do now is go outside to a really hot grill. Again, this can be done in the oven, but it can be done pan-fried real fast. We're going to do this today on the grill. Okay, so now my grill is nice and hot. If you're using charcoal, that's fine. What I would do, though, is I would kind of just blow away some of the ash, the gray ash that's there, because you want a really intense flame. You want a nice hot flame for this. My grill's red hot. We've got our skirt steak here now, which I cut into 2 pieces. It just makes it a lot easier to handle this on the grill. And all we need to do is we're going to take each piece one at a time, and we're just going to lay them right here, right across our really hot grill. Now remember, this is only going to take about 2 minutes per side. While this is going, let me tell you, this marinade now had raw meat in it. It was in there for about 24 hours. I don't care if it was 30 minutes or 24 hours. Take no chance with that marinade. Throw it away. Remember, we saved about 1/3, so if you wanted to brush this as you flip it and grill it, or you want to just use some of that sauce when we go back inside and plate it up, that's up to you. Great flavors already in here with this marinated, but throw that away. Okay, so about 2 minutes now, what we're going to do is we're going to flip 1, flip 2. We're going to let it go for about 2 minutes more, and then we are all set to plate. All right, so now we're gonna let this rest for about 5 minutes. We want all the juices to redistribute throughout the meat. We cook this to about medium. This thing's awesome, ready to go. All we need to do now is plate it. Come on inside, I'll show you exactly how to cut the steak, because there is a trick to making it more tender by the way you cut it. Come on inside. So now that we've got this all set to go, we're gonna get we use a slicing knife here. The key to this is, doesn't matter what kind of knife you use, what you wanna do is, remember we talked about the marbling and there was kind of a grain pattern to these skirt steaks? Well, you're gonna cut across that grain now. What that does is it helps to break the muscle down even further to make tender cuts. So you could cut with, and I tell you what though, try a little bit one way and then try it the other way. And this is where you wanna go across. And you'll see that there really is a big difference in chewiness. It'll be less chewy and more tender when you cut across the grain. And then I've got a plate set up here with a little bit of macaroni salad, a little bit of tossed greens. We're gonna just place this right on top of a bit of salad or salad greens. And then for that marinade that we had, I'm gonna use some of this marinade and I'm just gonna drizzle right on top of both the steak and let it kind of drizzle down on top of our salad. And there you go, real simple dish. We're gonna call this our Asian style red wine and ginger skirt steak. Real simple cut. The key to it is marinate it. Make sure you clean it up, then you marinate it well, and then just cut it across the grain. A very inexpensive, comparable to some of the other cuts. Cut a steak that you can get at the market. A little bit goes a long way too. Probably about one whole skirt steak could probably feed 4 people, no problem. You've got a good couple of ounces there, maybe even half a pound per person by the time you trim it all up. A great idea to stretch the dollar. Some underutilized cut of steak that is going to be all flavorful. You've had it before in fajitas, now you know exactly what it is. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.